Christopher Nolan is cinema's master of precision. Every frame calculated, every performance dissected, every detail obsessed over until it's perfect. But what happens when that obsession meets Hollywood egos? When actors can't handle his legendary intensity? When the pursuit of perfection becomes a war zone? After 2 decades of blockbuster filmmaking, sources close to Nolan reveal he's finally ready to name the 7 actors who made his sets a living nightmare. And some of these names will absolutely shock you. One of them had such explosive temper tantrums that crew members feared for their safety. Another was called a living nightmare by multiple sources. And the #1 spot, it's an actor so problematic that Nolan swore he'd never work in Hollywood again if forced to cast them. This isn't just behind-the-scenes drama. This is what happens when cinematic genius collides with massive egos, and the results nearly destroyed some of the greatest films ever made. Christopher Nolan doesn't make movies. He constructs experiences. From Memento to Inception, from The Dark Knight to Dunkirk, every film is a masterpiece of technical precision and emotional depth. But that level of perfection comes with a price. Nolan sets are legendary for their intensity, their discipline, and their absolute intolerance for anything less than total commitment. He's worked with the same core group of actors for years, but not every actor can handle the Nolan treatment. Some crack under the pressure, others rebel against his methods, and a few become so problematic that they earn a permanent spot on his never work with again list. What you're about to discover isn't just gossip. It's a masterclass in how creative genius and Hollywood politics collide when hundreds of millions of dollars are on the line. Number 7. Cillian Murphy.
I think they're from the same source. I mean, I really do. I see it's all on a continuum. You know what I mean? It's just a form of expression.
This one might surprise you because Cillian Murphy has appeared in multiple Nolan films. But according to industry sources, their working relationship has been consistently strained by one recurring issue: Murphy's internal acting style. Murphy is known for his subtle, restrained performances. It's what makes him brilliant in films like 28 Days Later and Peaky Blinders. But Nolan's filmmaking requires actors who can project emotion and dialogue clearly for his complex sound mixing and IMAX presentations. Sources from the sets of Batman Begins, Inception, and Dunkirk report that Nolan would repeatedly push Murphy to be louder and more expressive, which clashed with Murphy's preference for understated performances. One crew member, speaking anonymously, described the tension. Chris would do take after take, asking Cillian to project more, to be bigger. You could see the frustration building on both sides. Cillian felt like Chris was asking him to betray his natural instincts. The conflict represents a fundamental clash between 2 different approaches to filmmaking. Nolan needs performances that can carry the weight of his epic storytelling. Murphy delivers truth through subtlety. Neither approach is wrong, but they don't always mesh. Despite their professional success together, insiders say Nolan has privately expressed frustration with having to constantly direct Murphy away from his natural tendencies. It's a creative partnership that works on screen but creates tension behind the camera. Number 6. Tom Hardy. Tom Hardy is one of Nolan's most frequent collaborators, appearing in Inception, The Dark Knight Rises, and Dunkirk. But their partnership has been marked by one persistent problem: Hardy's unconventional vocal choices. Hardy's method approach often leads him to make bold character decisions that create technical challenges. His muffled Bane voice in The Dark Knight Rises became legendary, but it also created massive post-production headaches. According to sound engineers who worked on the film, Hardy's Bane voice was so unclear that entire scenes had to be re-recorded and digitally enhanced. The process cost hundreds of thousands of dollars and created significant delays. Sources close to the production reveal that Nolan was frustrated by repeated clarity problems caused by Hardy's character experimentation. While Nolan publicly defended Hardy's choices, privately, he struggled with the practical challenges they created. One post-production supervisor described the situation. Tom would make these bold vocal choices that were brilliant for the character, but nightmare for the sound team. Chris had to balance supporting his actors' creativity with the technical reality of making the dialogue comprehensible. The Hardy situation illustrates Nolan's biggest challenge as a director, balancing his support for bold acting choices with his need for technical precision. Hardy's creativity is undeniable, but it often comes at a cost that tests even Nolan's legendary patience. Number 5. Heath Ledger. Heath Ledger's Joker in The Dark Knight is considered one of the greatest performances in cinema history. But according to sources on set, Ledger's method approach created significant challenges for Nolan's typically disciplined production. Ledger's preparation for the Joker was legendary. He locked himself in a hotel room for weeks, developing the character's voice, mannerisms, and psychological profile. But when he arrived on set, his unpredictable energy clashed with Nolan's need for control. Crew members described Ledger staying in character between takes, creating an unsettling atmosphere that affected the entire production. His chaotic energy, while perfect for the Joker, made it difficult for other actors to find their rhythm. Nolan later admitted in interviews that Ledger forced him to loosen up and adapt his directing style. While this flexibility ultimately served the film, it created significant stress for a director who thrives on preparation and control. One assistant director, speaking anonymously, recalled, "Heath was brilliant, but he brought this unpredictable energy that made everyone nervous. Chris had to completely adjust his approach, and you could see it was challenging for him." The Ledger experience taught Nolan that sometimes great art requires embracing chaos, but it also reinforced his preference for actors who can deliver brilliance within a structured framework. Ledger's tragic death means we'll never know how their creative relationship might have evolved. Number 4. Guy Pearce. Guy Pearce starred in Nolan's breakthrough film, Memento, delivering a career-defining performance that helped establish both their reputations. But according to Yahoo Entertainment and other industry sources, their collaboration was marked by significant creative tension. Pearce's approach to the complex Memento script involved asking detailed questions about the story's structure, timeline, and emotional logic. While this might seem like professional diligence, sources suggest Nolan found Pearce's constant questioning disruptive to his creative process. The tension stemmed from different working styles. Nolan prefers actors who trust his vision and focus on their specific role within the larger puzzle. Pearce wanted to understand the complete picture before committing to individual scenes. One crew member described the dynamic. Guy would ask these probing questions about how his scenes connected to the overall story. Chris felt like it was undermining his authority as director and disrupting the creative flow. The most telling evidence of their strained relationship? Despite Memento's critical success and Pearce's acclaimed performance, Nolan never cast him again. In Hollywood, when a director and actor create magic together and then never reunite, it usually indicates unresolved creative differences. Pearce has spoken diplomatically about the experience in later interviews, but the professional rift was permanent. Their split represents the challenge of balancing actor preparation with directorial authority. Number 3. Al Pacino. Al Pacino worked with Nolan on Insomnia, delivering a powerful performance as the morally ambiguous detective Walter Finch. But according to Looper and other entertainment outlets, their professional relationship ended badly due to what Pacino called compensation disagreements. The conflict arose when Nolan offered Pacino another major role in a subsequent film. Pacino rejected the offer, reportedly due to financial terms that he felt didn't reflect his status as a Hollywood legend, but sources suggest the disagreement went deeper than money. Pacino, accustomed to being treated as cinema royalty, reportedly felt that Nolan's business approach was disrespectful to his legacy and contributions to the industry. Pacino later discussed the situation openly in interviews, saying Nolan miffed him and expressing disappointment in how the business side of their relationship was handled. The most damaging aspect of the conflict? Pacino's public comments created a perception that Nolan was difficult to work with for established stars. In an industry built on relationships and reputation, such comments can have lasting consequences. One industry insider explained, "When someone of Al's stature publicly criticizes how you handle business, it sends a message to other A-list actors. It can make them think twice about working with you." The Pacino situation illustrates the delicate balance directors must maintain between creative vision and star management, especially when dealing with actors who have decades of industry clout. Number 2. Christian Bale. This entry is particularly shocking because Christian Bale is considered one of Nolan's most trusted collaborators, starring in the entire Dark Knight trilogy. But according to multiple sources, their partnership was marked by explosive conflicts that nearly derailed productions. Bale's legendary intensity and method approach, while perfect for Batman, created significant challenges on Nolan's sets. Both men are perfectionists, but their approaches to achieving perfection often clash dramatically. Sources from the Dark Knight trilogy describe temper flare-ups and tense exchanges over creative vision between Bale and Nolan. The conflicts were so intense that crew members reported feeling uncomfortable during certain scenes. One particularly explosive incident occurred during The Dark Knight Rises, when Bale reportedly challenged Nolan's direction in front of the entire crew. The confrontation was so heated that production was temporarily halted while both men cooled down. The tension stemmed from Bale's need for emotional authenticity conflicting with Nolan's technical requirements. Bale wanted to explore the psychological depths of Bruce Wayne, while Nolan needed performances that served the larger narrative structure. A crew member described the dynamic. Both Chris and Christian are incredibly intense, incredibly committed. But when two perfectionists disagree about how to achieve perfection, it can get ugly fast. Despite their successful collaboration, insiders suggest that Nolan found working with Bale exhausting, and that their creative partnership was more of a test of patience than a harmonious collaboration. Number 1. Aaron Eckhart. The number 1 spot goes to Aaron Eckhart, who played Harvey Dent/Two-Face in The Dark Knight. According to multiple sources, including Reddit discussions among film industry professionals, Eckhart's behavior on set was so problematic that he earned the distinction of being a living nightmare to work with. The problems began early in production when Eckhart reportedly clashed with Nolan over his character's development and screen time. Sources suggest Eckhart felt his role was being diminished in favor of Heath Ledger's Joker and became increasingly difficult as filming progressed. Crew members described Eckhart as demanding, unprofessional, and disruptive to the collaborative atmosphere that Nolan works hard to maintain. His behavior was so problematic that he was reportedly left out of crew acknowledgements at awards shows. One of the most telling incidents occurred during the film's press tour, when Eckhart made comments that were perceived as critical of Nolan's directing style. While diplomatically phrased, industry insiders understood them as veiled criticisms of the production process. The situation became so toxic that Nolan made it clear through industry channels that he would never work with Eckhart again. This kind of definitive statement is rare for Nolan, who typically maintains professional discretion about difficult collaborations. Sources close to Nolan describe Eckhart as the actor who taught the director the importance of thorough personality vetting during the casting process. The experience was so negative that it influenced how Nolan approaches actor selection for all subsequent films. One industry insider summarized the situation. Aaron's behavior on The Dark Knight was so disruptive that it became a cautionary tale about how one difficult actor can poison an entire production. Chris learned from that experience and became much more careful about who he brings into his creative family. Christopher Nolan's list of difficult actors reveals something profound about the nature of cinematic collaboration at the highest level. Each conflict represents a different challenge that directors face when trying to balance artistic vision with human personalities. Cillian Murphy represents the challenge of matching acting styles with technical requirements. Tom Hardy embodies the tension between creative freedom and practical limitations. Heath Ledger shows how method acting can disrupt structured productions. Guy Pearce illustrates the conflict between actor preparation and directorial authority. Al Pacino demonstrates the business challenges of working with established stars. Christian Bale reveals what happens when two perfectionists clash over creative control. And Aaron Eckhart represents the ultimate nightmare scenario, an actor whose unprofessional behavior threatens the entire production. Nolan's experiences with these actors shaped his evolution as a filmmaker and his approach to casting. He learned that technical brilliance isn't enough. Successful filmmaking requires finding actors who share his commitment to excellence and his respect for the collaborative process. The directors who create lasting masterpieces aren't just visionaries, they're also skilled managers of human psychology and creative energy. Nolan's difficult experiences taught him to prioritize not just talent, but character, professionalism, and creative compatibility. Christopher Nolan's 7 most challenging actors tell us more about the reality of big-budget filmmaking than any behind-the-scenes documentary ever could. They reveal the human cost of pursuing perfection and the delicate balance required to manage massive egos in service of artistic vision. Nolan's films continue to push the boundaries of what cinema can achieve, but they're built on more than just technical innovation. They're built on his hard-earned wisdom about human nature, creative collaboration, and the price of uncompromising artistic vision. In an industry where difficult behavior is often tolerated in exchange for box office success, Nolan's willingness to prioritize professionalism over star power has created a new model for how great films get made. We are committed to releasing 2 videos a week. Like, share, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more film lore.